All right. Alhamdulillah. Assalatu wassalamu Rasulullahi Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amma ba'd. Brothers and sisters, Alhamdulillah, I'm here with Brother Anas, and we're here again. All of our basic intentions is fact finding and the truth in all of what we're looking for in terms of the situation with Imam Siraj and his family, and this is including Siraj ibn Siraj Wahhaj, Hujra Wahhaj, and Sister Sapana Wahhaj, and Brother Lukman, and Miriam. And if some of you may recognize Brother Anas, he's the brother that did the interview with Ali, and he really shed an extreme amount of light on the background of the situations and the mental states and the circumstances surrounding this. Now, sometimes situations, as we know, sometimes is over people's heads because they can't process the fact that this is a spiritual situation. It's not, sometimes it's not like cut and dry, like on the surface where people make choices and so forth, and a person makes a choice to steal, a person makes a choice. What I'm saying is that sometimes this situation is over people's heads and they can't process the fact that there's sometimes a spiritual connection. Muslims can, because we understand the nature of evil, and sometimes evil is to an extent where it gets a hold of people, it consumes people and communities and nations. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we understand the situations that happened with him. When the Jew tied knots and blew and so forth, and we got from that, and it affected the Prophet for months, and we got from that Falak and Nas. So the reason why we have Brother Anas here, if you heard his first interview, we wanted to continue it because I say this to the community. I'm here to appeal to the community, and for me, I considered the situation, the interview, a great service for the community, for us, so we can understand the circumstances, the mindset, because even every case, whether it's Islamic or it's secular, it deals with motive. What is behind? What is the state of mind of the people that committed these atrocities or these acts? So my brother Anas, I'm just gonna let him flow. I'm not, he's gonna explain. He's gonna go further. He may reiterate some of the information that he gave to the interview that he gave to Umar Lee, but he's going to give some more details about this case, inshallah. So, assalamu alaikum. So, my brother Anas, you just, you convey whatever you need to do in terms of follow-up, and if you need to reiterate what you said before, that's welcomed also, but, you got the floor.
Okay, so, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So I guess really I'll just start from the somewhere near the beginning. As he stated, we all know not much, I guess, is known factually about this case, and there's been a lot of, I guess, speculation back and forth throughout the community, opinions passed here and there. But the entire time that this has been going on, there has been a brother on Facebook who is actually the brother of Sister Miriam, the wife of Siraj ibn Wahhaj, and he has been making a lot of posts on a daily basis, basically alluding to nobody else has the facts, and implying that he has the facts, implying that nobody will listen to him, that he can speak to the motive, to the nature of the situation, and making posts requesting to speak with media, and even requesting to speak with investigators, and basically saying that the community is afraid of what he has to say, so nobody will hear him out. And I had been kind of watching what he would post for, I'd say, a few days, and a lot of people have just been looking and kind of trying to keep their distance from his statements. even so far as I removed him off my Facebook page, I will say. At a certain point, though, I said it's true. Nobody has the facts, but the facts are needed. And in response to the brother's constant, nobody knows the facts, I responded, okay, I'll bite. Tell me your story. Because he's been saying that he was in contact with those who we considered missing for all the way up until August the 2nd. So the day before the raid on the land in New Mexico. He says that he spoke to them daily. He was posting pictures on his Facebook page that could have only come from one of the 5 individuals who were in New Mexico. Pictures of various surroundings. They were sharing details of, when I say they, I'm speaking specifically, actually, his sister, Miriam, was sharing details with him of kind of their how their daily life was going in New Mexico. And initially, he seemed to kind of hesitate after I said, okay, here's a microphone. Let me hear what you have to say. What's your story? And so he again was hesitant, saying that he either wants to speak to investigators, the media, or the imam. And of course, I told him, but I'm reaching out to you, basically. So, I'm somebody who may potentially be able to get your story disseminated, but what can you provide, and can you shed any light? So he started off with, my sister tells me, quote, my sister tells me everything. We don't keep any secrets from each other. We speak daily, and he said he's telling the truth with everything he says, and that basically anybody who hears his version of events might label him and everyone involved as crazy, and so on and so forth. So after, I guess, a little bit of assurance that I was able to provide him, just saying, look, if you need to get it off your chest, if you want to get it off your chest, because here are some of the things that people have been saying. There are speculations and rumors regarding black magic and jinn play and all of this, and if you know the facts, what you could be doing is helping, just like you want to. You claim you want to help them. Well, I think the first step towards helping is to clear away the speculation and to help clear up some of the rumors and confusion. And I specifically said, there was once someone saying that they were witness to her burying something, and people, again, this is what people are using to fuel magic rumors, and that's when he first started answering things. And he said, quote, she did tell me that she would find things in her home and bury them because she believes it's stuff people did to try to hurt her. And by burying the thing, the magic would have no effect on her and her family. And that she, quote, found something through a dream that Imam Siraj had. And at this point, I guess I asked him too many questions in a row and confused him. And so he finally decided, okay, let's start from the beginning. And so he did, he actually started with saying that basically everything that is happening to them is a result of somebody trying to bring that effect upon them through use of jinn play, magic, whichever you'd like to call it. And he said that for one, they were trying to add theft charges to Brother to Lucas Morton, saying that he stole the trailer. And he said that, I guess it's, thankfully they did additional research and found out that the group accidentally bought a stolen trailer. And so then he says, I can also share with you why the judge gave bail. I said, yes, I think everybody kind of has different speculations, but it is, I for one am very curious as to how in such a sensitive situation they were able to receive bail. And the first thing he said was that the judge was able to view sealed evidence from, I guess, from the defense. The sealed evidence consists apparently of a testimony from one of the neighbors speaking to the character of the individuals arrested, so the family of Imam Siraj, and then also the report from the medical staff that checked out the children that all came in. And although, of course, media reports say they were emaciated children, according to what the brother says, the judge, the report that the judge read from the medical staff actually said that the kids were in some of the best of health. They were just filthy. So of course, I can't speak to the validity of that, but that's what he passed on to me. And so he then says, and whatever happened with Abdul Gani, I am truly sorry. Those people made an honest mistake. So this is where I started to dig, because we need more than that. And so I asked him, why did it happen? That's what I want to know. And he said, why did what happen? I said, why did Abdul Gani have to die? Why did Abdul Gani die? And he said, I will try to explain everything, but most people won't believe. I said, I'll try to keep an open mind just so I could keep him comfortable enough to share. So he started off at what I guess is the beginning of this chain of events that we're at now. He said it started last year when Ibn and Huzra went to London to visit with this guy who is a Ruqya expert, I believe.
Did he give a name?
He didn't give a name.
Location?
I asked about the name. He doesn't actually have the name. The location was simply London, and that this man is a Ruqya expert. I've actually heard him referred to by someone else as like a jinn whisperer. But somebody who claims to be able to glean knowledge of the unseen. And so he said that this person in London told Ibn that 2 people had performed 12 magic spells on Ibn, and that one person performed 5 magic spells on Hujra. And this was a couple of months before the disappearance, so I believe it was somewhere around October or early November. And he threw in a wallahi that that's what Ibn told him personally, that this is what the man told them. And I asked if he told them who did it. He said that this Ruqya expert gave them a hint of who it was that performed these spells. However, he did not provide names. And so I did ask, well, based on the letter that we've seen now, what is it that made them suspect that it was the mother of Abdul Gani and the wife of Imam Siraj doing something to them? And he actually said that with regards to blaming the wife of Imam Siraj, that was their initial assumption, and that was a mistake, that she was actually not the person that they suspected, and that they always speak good of Sister Jamila. And so
it's Hakima.
No, what we're talking about.
Oh, Jamila.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yes,
Sorry.
It's both.
Excuse me.
It's both. They suspected both.
Gotcha. Sorry.
But then he said that they always talk good of Sister Jamila, and they were wrong initially. And I said, in the letter, they referred to Sister Jamila as the Dajjal, the Antichrist. Right. And they referred to Sister Hakima as Fir'aun. So I said, not in the letter, they didn't speak good of her. He said, they did mention those 2 at first. However, then they mentioned that it was Sister Hakima and another sister, not Sister Jamila. Okay. So they believe that it was, again, the people who were putting spells upon not just Hujra and Ibn, but this included also the children, and it was, I guess, they believe there was residual effects to ultimately affect the entire family, but they blamed that on Sister Hakima and another sister who is unnamed. And he doesn't know the name, and so then he moves to talk about the car accident that they had in December in Alabama. So I let him tell this story. He says what really happened, and I'm quoting him here and a little bit of paraphrasing. He says, Janie was driving, but Janie being Miriam, right. She was driving, and from when they left Georgia all the way to about Montgomery, she got tired, and she asked Ibn Siraj to drive. He had been asleep for the past couple of hours, so she figured he was rested up, could take the wheel. They pulled over to the side of the road, and they switched. He took the driver's seat, she took a nap. However, he said after not long, Ibn was still sleepy and said, let's pull over and rest for a while. So he says that they pulled over to the side of the road and slept for maybe 2 or 3 hours. And then Ibn felt good, felt energized, and felt ready to go. He said as they were driving, Ibn received an email on his phone, and that he opened and read this email, and quote, Miriam said that's the last thing that they remember before waking up to a crash. So upon digging deeper, he clarified, he said that upon opening this email from the second sister that they suspect to have been performing some works on them, who is still unnamed, that everyone basically blacked out, and that led to this one car accident in which Abdul Gani, Umar, and Nasiba, the children, were actually outside of the car when they came to, and that everyone else was stuck in the car. He says Miriam came to, and she was able to wake Ibn up, and although he was in shock, he managed to get everyone else out of the car. I did actually clarify. I said, were the children thrown out of the vehicle? He said, no, they weren't thrown out. So, again, I can't really speak to the facts, but that's what his statement says. He received pictures from his sister of her with a broken and cut, bleeding thumb, and Mubaraka, one of the children, had a broken nose. And so everyone else was okay. Otherwise, the police came, and I guess everything else from there is the public knowledge that was reported. However, he said that at that point, the group stopped using email. And I will say that the conversation we had, things are in kind of a mixed up order, but I will try to connect those dots. But it's important to remember that this is the point, after they've already left Georgia, this is the point where they actually stopped suspecting that Sister Jamila was trying to harm them with spiritual works. And so this is also after the letter that was written was delivered. So that's why in the letter it mentions two names, but they retract the accusation on Sister Jamila. And I kind of just jumped right in and said, this is important, but why are there claims that your sister claims to be either the Mahdi or the Messiah? And he kind of says that he doesn't want to upset anybody, but he'd rather at this point in the conversation talk about Abdul Gani and tell why they took Abdul Gani. So I let him go with it. Tell me why they took Abdul Gani. He said, quote, Ibn managed to get the mother, Sister Hakima, out of the room at some point. He's giving no detail about when this was, but obviously this was prior to them leaving. And he said that, I guess people know that Abdul Gani and his disabilities limited his communication, but Abdul Gani could nod or shake his head, yes, no, and respond to things in that regard. So he says that Ibn asked Abdul Gani, are you happy here? And Abdul Gani shook his head no. He asked, the next question was, has mommy hurt you? Because this is after they've returned from London and they have this suspicion. So apparently Abdul Gani answered in the affirmative, yes, mommy hurt me. And so he says the reason why this line of questioning took place was that the Ruqya expert in London gave them, I guess, clues, kind of like, I call it the scavenger hunt, if you will. But as a result, Ibn found something in his home that was apparently suspected to be the root of a spell that was affecting his family, his children, as well as Hujra's children, and all of them basically. So again, he took Abdul Gani at this point to the presence of Miriam, Hujra, Subhana, and and Luqman, and he asked in their presence, same questions. Are you happy here? Same answer, allegedly, no. Is mommy doing something to you? Allegedly, same answer, yes. So I asked the clarifying question, like beating him, like physical abuse. He says, no, not like physical abuse. But he said they asked Abdul Gani a question about magic and his mother performing it. And according to Miriam's brother, Abdul Gani answered in the affirmative, yes, that his mother was performing magic. It's at this point that they decided to perform a ruqya, this was some point in December, according to the brother. And it's actually at this point that they say that he says in December, around Christmas, that Abdul Gani actually passed away in Rukia.
Now, that is very controversial. It's a conflict because the authorities are saying one thing. What happens is, what comes into play is the fact that, and you know, again, it's a media account. We don't really know that the the owners of the land, the landlords. One account is that the wife and the husband saw Ibn and the missing boy. Now they distinctly said missing boy. They didn't just say a child.
Right.
And that they had notified the authorities. And this was somewhere in February.
Right. And that's also, I had heard the same, and basically, according to, I guess, before this, everybody's assumption of what the accounts was that somewhere between, I guess, February and, I guess, June or so was at some point, was the point where he was.
Right.
However, according to this, and I did clarify this multiple times, he always said in December. However, there are other things to it that make it sound like they may have thought he was dead when he may not have been.
Okay.
So
that's a possibility.
Like comatose state. So what happened at this point after they thought he was dead? They said that they would wash his body every 2 to 3 days for the next 4 months, believing that 4 months from his death he would come back, be resurrected, and there was no actual talk about the taking down of institutions. That's not something that was said. However, it was believed that he would come back and provide guidance as the spirit of the Christ, Isa alayhi salam.
Yeah. So let me just interject. So Yusuf he never indicated in any fashion, or I'm asking you, that Ibn was teaching the children shooting to, shoot up schools and things, any information like that?
No, I did actually ask, and there was no mandated training of the children. He did say that the eldest, Muhammad, Pharaoh, the oldest child, did actually ask to be taught how to use, how to shoot. But other than that, there was no training. There was no, he didn't.
Actual motive.
There was no motive to commit any violent acts whatsoever, actually. And he said that the presence of weapons and them consistently carrying weapons was actually because they were paranoid and felt someone was out to get them. Specifically, the owner of the land is actually the name that he mentioned, Mr. Badger. So he actually says that this man is an ex-Marine, ex-military who used to come by in a caravan of trucks, him and some other locals, and used to ride by the land constantly. He claims that he had a Kafir bumper sticker and that's who they were afraid of. So that's the whole thing with regards to the weapons. Never any intent to, no, not schools, not institutions, none of that was ever even alluded to. So he said that, back to Abdul Ghani's death, while they washed him every 2 to 3 days for 4 months, during this time he was kept in Huzra's room, which I guess wants to draw a conclusion. They're in this small trailer, but that's where they said they kept him, wrapped in sheets, and every so often they would also perform ruqya rituals on the body. And he said that they then developed a theory, that his sister developed a theory based upon the fact that she was being communicated with by Allah. And
this is Miriam.
Yes, this is Miriam, because I guess she has a methodology that she has a thought, a desire, states the desire explicitly, makes a dua, and opens the Quran randomly, and that the first thing that she opens to and notices is an answer from Allah. She reads the ayah and starts to hear voices in her head. And those voices, he says, those voices are what we understand to be Angel Jibreel. So basically that Angel Jibreel was communicating with Maryam about the spiritual reality of what's going on. This is what they believe. And he actually does admit to believing this as well. Yeah, considers himself part of that. And so he said that when his sister contacted him after Abdul Gani passed, he said that they had a certain feeling, and they said that for 4 months the body didn't decompose, and that gave them a feeling of kind of optimism, feeling that, quote, something special was up. He goes then to a story where the sheriff came to ask them to evacuate because of a wildfire nearby, and that they chose not to evacuate. He said the fire was near and they were feeling the heat. They instead cried and prayed in a circle for rain, which Maryam led, and not long after it rained and the fire danger was alleviated. And he actually posted a picture on his page of what came after, which they claim to have seen both a face and a winged creature in the clouds, and took that as a sign as well. He said at a certain point, I guess this was when Abdul Gani didn't come back to life, he said they started to feel at a certain point they started to lose confidence, lose faith, started to feel different and wanted to go home. However, Ibn Siraj had another dream, and this is kind of a recurring thing. He's mentioned 3 dreams that Ibn Siraj has had that guided actions, but the dreams are always interpreted by Maryam. So he said Ibn Siraj had a dream, and when Maryam interpreted the dream, they were all recommitted to staying and decided that this is where they had to be. So, sorry. I had to kind of push him a little more to speak on the why do you believe that why is there this claim that Maryam is the Imam Mahdi? And he says, I won't speak on that because people will call all 5 of them crazy. I was able to make him feel comfortable enough to go there because I was like, that ship has sort of sailed. Like, if you think you can help them, try. And so I also said, do you believe that she is receiving revelation? And I asked explicitly, is she receiving word directly from Allah? He said, I typically keep it to myself, but yes, they all believe that Maryam is guided. My opinion is maybe Ibn performed too much ruqya on Maryam, but also I'll be a liar if I tell people that I don't believe something happened and we need to find out. And I feel that she has a gift. I'm not hesitate to say it, and we all agree on it. Again, I clarified. So she's receiving revelation, ? He said, because you asked, I will answer your question in a way for you to understand why all 6 of us might be in the dark. And as I stated on the previous, video, the interview, is that the thing that stuck out to me most is that he didn't refer to the 5 of them anymore. He called them us, the 6 of us. So he personalized and put himself in that situation. However, he kind of rewinds because I said he's jumping back and forth in the timeline. So this is what this was, I've realized, in New Mexico. Ibn had the dream. This is the dream that made them recommitted. So Ibn had a dream. He's not telling me the contents of the dream, but they took it to Maryam because she has a gift. She was able to explain the dream, and as a result, even her brother in Haiti apparently quit his job. It turns out that the dream was that they were wealthy beyond belief. That was the meaning of the dream. And she instructed her eldest as well as Ibn to dig. And for 2 days, they dug in one spot. On the second day, they got discouraged. They asked her if she was sure about the inspiration she received. She said yes, but you need to add Luqman into the scenario. He's the better digger or something. That's actually what he said, and that y'all need to dig in a different direction. So before I finish, that's actually the origin of the tunnels. That's the origin of the tunnels in New Mexico. However, he said that on the 5th day, they found buckets full of diamonds, or bucket loads of diamonds. And of course, I'm trying to get him to continue talking. So I'm like, oh, okay, diamonds, right? Like, tell me more. Like, how much money's worth of diamonds? He says trillions of dollars worth of diamonds. So I asked for a picture. I said, do you have any pictures of the diamonds? He proceeds to send me 4 pictures, which no diamonds at all. But they are all apparently convinced they're diamonds. He says that Subhana and Hujra did research and validated that that they had found diamonds, bucket loads. They excavated all of the diamonds, but at a certain point, once they excavated them all, they buried the diamonds in the tunnel right next to where they later on buried Abdul Gani. So he reiterates again that everybody kind of performed ruqya on each other in this group. And he said that he feels that the ruqya on Ibn, Hujra, and Maryam played a big factor, and that's why they pled not guilty. He said, I believe they tried something that they shouldn't have, but a part of me feels that we are a part of something big. And then he said that they knew that they were going to get arrested. He claims that Maryam predicted the date of the arrest as the 3rd, and that they prepared by making new garments, by getting cleaned up, new clothes, and everything in preparation for Friday the 3rd, because that's when she said that they would be arrested. And also, she apparently told them beforehand that although they would be arrested Friday the 3rd, that they wouldn't find Abdul Ghani's body until his birthday. This, he said, they were told beforehand, before they even were arrested. And he also says that he has 2 wives, and that they taught him how to practice ruqya, and he says he performed it on his 2 wives, and he will never do it again. And he believes that this is one of the roots of the problems. He says he did it to his wife, Ruqya, on a Monday, and that when he came home the next day, he found her hiding in the closet, crying, shaking her head, non-stop tears.
And which wife was this?
I'm not sure. This is one of the brother's wives,
Gotcha.
one of his 2.
Gotcha.
But he said that she was basically traumatized a day after they performed the ruqya. And he says that his sister always told him to talk nice to the jinns or they will retaliate. So he reiterates again, quote, I believe they're innocent, just made a bad choice. And he said, I was the one with the doubt. The other 5 have no doubt, but I've come more to believe. And so then he goes into... I basically asked him to kind of go deeper. Like, feel free to tell me the details of your belief system. I would like to understand. He said he had to make a dua and to give him 60 seconds and he'll see how he feels. He came back and said, okay, here's this thing. This is when he says, okay, Maryam has this thing where you seek refuge in Allah, mention what you want to the Quran, open a random page, and you receive the answer. So he says that in regards to Ibn's initial dream, and I'm not sure at which point in time this was, but that she opened to Surah Al-Kahf, specifically to the story of Khidr, and then the voice that she believes to be Angel Jabril told her that thus digging this tunnel, which is, I guess, where they came across what they believe to be diamonds, was referring to them as the people of the cave, and the people of the cave receiving divine secrets. This is all what he basically says that they believe. It's at this point where he goes in with the pictures of what he thought was diamonds.
Right. Yeah.
That is
Gotcha.
the location. And
can we get a close up on this?
so this is what he sent me as their photos of diamonds. And again, I mean, I see a quartz and some other just rocks ultimately. So obviously I didn't, I guess, blow up the spot. I let it flow, because I just wanted him to continue to feel comfortable to talk. But all throughout this conversation, he keeps interjecting with, sometimes I wish he hadn't performed all that ruqya on Maryam. And but ultimately he gets to a point where he says, he tells a story where one day Subhana and Luqman went shopping. They went to the market, he says, and that they were then followed and then pursued by the police as they were trying to return to the land, to the compound. And he says that they were aided by Maryam in that at a certain point while running from the police, they pulled the car over to the side of the road and made a special dua, and that when the police caught up to them, exited their vehicles, came up to the vehicle that they were in and looked inside, he says that they couldn't see them. He says that they were not visible to them, although they were sitting right there because of, he says, Maryam made this possible. And so, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get past it.
Well, it's good to know that, so the people can understand that you're reading exactly
I'm reading
from the text. So that's how he's able to retain, because he has the exact text from Yusuf to him. So that way they get the idea that this is one hand to the other.
Right. And so this is the part where we discuss the prevalence of, I guess, weapons and what the reason was for being armed and stuff like that, and also where I discussed were the kids being trained. He says, I didn't tell you that part, but they felt that the owner of the land, Jason Badger, was out to get them. He has tattoos. He has stickers all over his car. One of them saying, I am a kafir. One, the letter Noon, which allegedly these are all like far right-wing, sentiments that Islamophobes, or whichever you want to call them, place on their car. I don't know any of this to be a fact, but he says that the owner of the land that they settled on by mistake was actually out to get them. He says that they actually tried to make a deal with him, but that he didn't allow the deal to go through, and they felt that he was trying to sabotage or kill them.
Did he mention what the deal was?
Specifically, he said they had an agreement with Jason, just that they were going to switch lands.
Oh.
So the land that they accidentally settled on was his, and there was supposed to be like a transfer of ownership or responsibility, where just a fair exchange of land.
Because I know in the one of the articles it stated that they had submitted an eviction. They went to court to get them evicted from the land.
I read that in the article. He didn't touch on that here. He does say that they were going to switch land,
right.
And he claims that the owner, Jason, went back on the deal.
Okay.
And so I then wanted to get, I guess, more insight onto what their beliefs were. And so I asked him myself, so what happened? Why didn't Abdul Gani come back like he was supposed to? And he said, I can only answer that from my understanding. But there were a few different scenarios that we believed would happen. Scenario one was that during the raid, Ibn would die and Abdul Gani would awake and revive Ibn. And then they changed from that theory, and it says we switched qadars. So as if they chose a different destiny, I guess. And at this point, he says that, call me crazy, but basically that he believes that Abdul Gani not coming back was supposed to happen, and that the baby that Subhana is pregnant with is the spirit of Abdul Gani, and so Abdul Gani is to be reborn through Subhana. And that's why he says they're not fretting in jail. He says that speaks to their optimism because they still believe. So yeah, he said that, and he said up until the day of the raid, everyone had the same faith, and it wavered for a second. However, the idea that Subhana's baby that she's carrying is the Messiah, I guess, that they're waiting on, is what has given them comfort, which is why Maryam was able to predict that the 3rd would be the raid, and the 3rd was a Friday, and that he would be discovered on the 6th, and that the 6th is a Monday, and Prophet Muhammad was born on a Monday, and Prophet Adam on a Friday. They've made a lot of, I guess, connections spiritually here. So I asked, did they truly think that Abdul Gani was going to bring back instructions? And he said, all he responded to that was, I don't know the magnitude of the Ruqya Ibn did on Janie, on Maryam. He said, but things are just too clear for me to refuse what they shared with me. My faith hasn't changed. I can't lie. I just feel that something will go down. And I said, what do you mean by something? Something is going to happen? He said, yes, but only to me. I asked him if he thinks that any of them, the 5 of them, are in danger. And he said, no, but for me, something big is coming, and I don't know yet what. And he says that there are a lot of people in Georgia who believe what Ibn has told them about what he's received through dreams, and that believe what Maryam has told them about what she's been inspired with through the voices, which she believes to be Angel Jibreel. Also, I asked why the letter was sent. What reason did they have to believe that Muhammad, the younger brother, would be receptive to this at all? And he said that before they left, Muhammad, along with many others who will not step forward because they are ashamed, believed as well. And that Muhammad consulted with someone, and they made him waver in his faith in Maryam. So he said, if you read the letter, you'll notice he's not scared to admit that he believes. He just had a change of opinion after seeking advice from people. And so then there's a mention of, I said, who changed his mind? He says, oh no, I'm sorry, I apologize. I asked him, who is this sister in Texas? Because he says that there is a sister in Texas. That's allegedly the sister they suspect of being the 2nd person they accuse of practicing magic, along with Sister Hakima. But again, and this is all confusing because he says that the sister in Texas, he doesn't know her name, and she's supposed to be Miriam's best friend, but she's the one who changed Muhammad's mind. It says that this is the friend who gave Janie her shahada, and she is a Moroccan, and the friend would express to Janie that Moroccans practice heavy magic. So I asked, did she teach her any? And the friend told Miriam, the friend, I guess, convinced Miriam that she wouldn't be surprised if Sister Hakima got Ibn through magic. So that's the person who put that idea out in Miriam's mind in the first, I guess, in the first place. She says, so I want people to understand, Janie didn't create this. I said, who did? He said, it was an entire story altogether and many signs. I said, what were these signs pointing to Sister Hakima? And what is this about Abdul Gani being stolen from Miriam's womb? He said, well, people wouldn't believe this. However, once a sister told Miriam a story in Georgia. She told Janie that she was pregnant for 9 months, visited the doctor, but when it was time to give birth, there was no baby. And so he said, Miriam told me that she was 3 months pregnant and never had a miscarriage. But 3 months into the pregnancy, she lost the pregnancy without having a miscarriage. And it's at this point that Sister Hakima became pregnant with Abdul Gani. Yeah, so that was that for me kind of, I don't know, that was a lot to have to take in. So then he says that I guess their theories kind of evolved to fit the circumstances. And so he said that this whole portion basically is saying that they believe Abdul Gani died at birth, and that a jinn commandeered Abdul Gani's body by request of Abdul Gani's mother because she was grief-stricken. I don't know, they just came up with all of this. But she was desperate to have a child, and when her child died at birth, those words verbatim, says she made a deal with the devil, and that Abdul Gani was a jinn. And the only reason he was alive is because there was a jinn inside of him. And so he said, when doing Ruqya, the jinn died, so therefore Abdul Gani died.
Now, who is he saying? This is Miriam?
This is Mary. This is all Mary's account, giving him.
Right.
Yes.
That's important.
And so Ibn did Ruqya on. He says Ibn did Ruqya on everyone, including all the kids, but only Abdul Gani died. And I said, so they don't think it was because he was sick, or you're saying it was because the real Abdul Gani was never alive. And then he cites in Islamic belief saying that seizure, or in alleged Islamic belief, I don't know this one, but saying that seizures are simply jinn possession. And I told him I've never heard of that. Please,
there's no basis.
I said, please enlighten me, because I've never heard this. I mean, and his response was, just research it. My sister taught me. So he's just kind of taking what his sister tells him. And I said, so I clarified, said, so in order for Ruqya on Abdul Gani to be successful, he would have had to pass. And he said, yes, you should be able to make a connection and see that they had sincere intentions and simply made a mistake. He said, no, the body of Abdul Gani died because the jinn that helped him stay alive died. And he finishes it with, that is their belief. So says that verbatim. And so he says he claims here that Abdul Gani wasn't only on medication, but that he was on spells, and that Sister Hakima was keeping him alive through spells. And they felt the desperation of having a child. They felt the desperation of having a child push the mother to practice magic. That's what they believe now. I said, where did they get the belief from? Who was the teacher? That is what the guy in London said. So, pretty much what I gleaned from this is the catalyst of all of this, or these theories, is this Rukia jinn expert in London. He says, actually, Maryam, after the death of Abdul Gani, told Ibn to stop performing Rukia because it's painful, and Allah doesn't want us to feel pain. And I clarified, so who was the teacher? Was it Ibn or was it Maryam? He clarifies that it is Maryam. He then goes into a tangent, basically, about Maryam was teaching them new Islamic etiquettes, such as a different way to have sex, which I did question. I was like, okay, tell me. And there's a lot of instructions and restrictions here, basically, for the proper way to have sex, according to Maryam, and that they changed their behaviors based upon her instructions.
So she's changing the whole dynamics of Islamic teaching in terms of how she framed it.
Yes, there was a specific time of day where they could have sex. You weren't allowed to see each other. No touching of private parts. No painful sex. Always eye contact and smile, and it must be slow because there are jinns watching. So that's why you must cover yourself and be under the covers. Everyone started to love it more. It eliminates passion. Passion is only for Allah. And during this time, everybody would go off their own way, and Hujra would sleep.
Now,
go ahead.
There's a point where they were that it was Hujra and Ibn that went to Haiti.
That's not. Oh well, that is. He only touched on that like a tiny bit,
and he didn't
but
say
not
where they went to see or anything.
Our conversation specifically, no. He, he doesn't say anything about that. He says that they had a good trip, kind of leaving it at that, and that Ibn bought him a motorcycle. Okay. That's the only thing that he told me about the Haiti trip. Let me make sure. So yeah, I went back into just the circumstances around Abdul Ghani's death after that, and he again clarified around Christmas. I asked where he died. He clarified that was in New Mexico, and but he was with Hujra for the next 4 months. But then he started to decay, and that's when they decided to bury him, and they did it Jesus style. And somewhere in this time frame is when the diamond dream and discovery happened, and that's when they decided to bury him in the tunnel, because excavating the diamonds is what led them to dig the tunnel. It was never an intended escape tunnel, or a weapons cache or whatever. It was nothing. It was none of that. It was a hunt for diamonds. And they buried him wrapped in a white blanket inside a coffin in a cave secured by a rock, like Jesus.
Now, have they, I know you mentioned it in the previous interview, had the feds, did we clarify, did the feds contact him as of yet or anything?
He said on his page that he wanted the feds to contact him. He also makes the claim that he's under surveillance by the feds, but other than that, no, I don't believe the feds have contacted him at all. No. He says that during the raid, the police went in the tunnel and were standing next to Abdul Ghani's body, but didn't see him because it didn't fit Maryam's prophecy of when they would find the body. It had to be on Abdul Ghani's birthday. So as he says, this is basically another one of those things that everything that he alleges she predicted and came true strengthened his faith or belief. in this. So he said, just as she predicted, they found him on his birthday, even though several times before they were standing next to his body. Yeah, and also the ritual that allows one to hear the voice of Angel Jibril. She being Miriam is not the only person who does it. That she taught them all to do it, and we all do it. I do it, Ibn does it, and the rest. At times, our interpretations would match, meaning Angel Jibril would tell them all the same thing, and if not, they would defer to Miriam, and she would take authority on choosing which message was that of truth. I asked if he was worried about the children being in foster care, and he says, no, I'm not. They too were happy and understand what's going on as well. And yeah, that's about that. And then there's probably the last thing that he told me, which this was actually just yesterday, something about Subhana being put through a punishment / training mandated by Miriam. That apparently Subhana was punished because she didn't pay attention to her family, didn't cook and didn't clean. So Miriam did Subhana did a ritual, opened the Quran, and Allah gave her a task to cook and clean every day. Miriam confirmed that Allah wanted this from her, and for the next 9 months, all cleaning and cooking was Subhana's responsibility. And that by the end of June, she loved her task. Hujra did nothing but help the kids or do her own laundry. I asked him if he would have joined them on the compound. He said, absolutely, I would have. Trust me, but I'm in Haiti. It was a everyday wish of mine to join them. And then he's saying that his only wish and the reason why he wants to contact the Imam is because he wants the Imam to acquire the land because they are afraid of the owner, Jason Badger, finding the stash of trillions of dollars worth of diamonds. And that's,
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Well, brother, alhamdulillah, outside of what I heard from the previous, you basically added.
I'm sorry, there is one more message.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying that I guess they did kind of do a little bit of integrating with the community there. Bought their, and he provided pictures which showed that they bought their meat from the halal store in Alamosa, Colorado, and kind of knew some Muslim families out there. And he says, quote, no one in New Mexico believes Janie practices black magic. They just see a case of a spiritual leader and chaos between family. And that's right. The end of that.
And just to confirm what you're saying, and many say, I've also spoken to Imam Tariq Rashid, and a lot that what you said, he confirmed, he verified, and also things that were said to him, right? And according to Imam Tariq, there was a point in which Ibn was concerned about Miriam in terms of her practice of black magic. That he was concerned that he felt that he was being affected by the things that she was doing. This is when he was somewhat in his, as we would say, and again, this is I'm just conveying an account. This is not conclusive. This is not something that I'm saying is facts. I'm saying this is information I've gotten from what I consider a reliable source, Imam Tariq Abdul Rashid, and that he also he came to him and to imams about Miriam. Just at some point he got sucked into it in whatever fashion and form that took. The main thing here, brothers and sisters, is that this case, again, I can't repeat it enough, is extremely complex. And it's going to take being patient and waiting for facts and things to come into play, into fruition. When I read about, there's a book called Trials and Tribulations, and when I read about within that book, the ayats that's conveyed from the scholar that wrote the book is the virtues of patience in afflictions and tribulations, and how patience is a key to weathering this type of storm, and waiting for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to not only to make it clear, but to hopefully to heal the situation. So I appeal to people who are making statements, again, I'll repeat myself, all unsubstantiated statements, speculating, saying things, castigating the family, Imam Siraj, what have you, that you be patient. That you be patient and make endure. This brother here brought a trove of information that most of you were not familiar with or not privy to. And this sheds a great deal of light on the state of mind. Now we, as in the Muslim community, we believe in this spiritual aspect of the jinn and possession and sihr, black magic and sorcery and so forth. We not believe in it, but we believe it exists. We don't believe in it in terms of practicing it, but we believe it exists. And Allah says it exists. The Prophet ﷺ has given explanations. So we just say again, this thing has to be processed in a very sophisticated way, according to Quran and Sunnah, according to how things unfold. Wait for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it clear for us, and wait for Him. We're looking for Allah's intervention in these matters, and to straighten out our affairs. So inshallah, I say Jazakallah khair, my brother, for being in, this I feel is courageous of you, to bring it out. Again, you are doing a service. You are doing a tremendous service to the community, shedding light for those people who are not aware of what's going on. We always deal with motives. What is the state of the mind? How is it that these people are acting totally acting outside their character? How is it like people like Charles Manson can go and kill up a whole family? People can go and shoot up schools. What is going on? What is going on in the minds of these people? So the same way people are afforded like that to say, what is their mindset? What's the background? Is there something mentally going on? We, as Muslims, should be afforded the same consideration in respect to the state of mind, inshallah. So, inshallah, to be continued in terms of updating you, and hopefully this shed light. And the main thing, brothers and sisters, is the dua. Send dua. Send dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in respect to the family, in respect to the Muslims. This is affecting not only the family, but it's affecting us, the whole community, the ummah. People around the world knows what's going on with this case. And alhamdulillah, the Imam said they're sending good vibes, and they're offering their services and however they can assist us. And that's what we need in this situation. So inshallah, brothers and sisters, thank you for your audience, and hopefully we can continue until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala heals us in this situation. And only Allah can help this. In Nasrullah, the help of Allah. Only Allah can solve this and heal this situation. It's going to take Allah alone, with whatever efforts that He allows us or input He allows us to have and put into this situation. Only Allah can take care of this. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. جزاك الله.